Hello, everyone. It's Sunday, September 20th. Welcome to my weekly Sunday live chat. I got my iced coffee ready. As usual, if you want to participate, go ahead and shoot me a message, or you can email me at etanick@gmail.com. And if I can fit you in, I will try. And if I can't, I will see if I can fit you in the week after, okay? But it's Sunday. What do I expect the Steelers to do today? They're playing at home, so hopefully they will do okay. The 49er, tough team to guess. Whenever you have a new coach, new system, it's hard to predict what's going on. Plus, to me, the football season, the first 3 or 4 weeks is really hard to predict because most team, if not every team, has not gelled yet on both offense and defense. So there's a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of mistakes. So I don't really, to me, if my team, if the Steelers can get out of the first 4 game of the season, being 2-2, I'm okay with that. Sure, who wouldn't want that team to be 4-0 after the first 4 game of the season, right? But to me, if you can escape the first 4 weeks of the season, being 2-2 with no major injuries, then hopefully by the 4th weeks, you will start to gel together and start to play without a lot of miscommunications. But so for now, against the 49ers, I have no idea. I hope they win. Kaepernick, depend on how well he played for the 49ers, and then the running back, fairly new, fairly unknown, young, so he could have can he have 2 great weeks back to back? We'll see. So a lot of question mark. As far as comic books, nothing new really. By the way, Caesar, if you are watching this video later, I did read the first 2 issues of the DC New 52 Madman that you gave me. So far so good. I'm trying to read it slowly, like I'm trying not to binge read. I have so many things going on that to me, unless I have time to sit down and enjoy and indulge in the beautiful arts and read through the books, I don't want to rush through it too quickly. So I did read the first 2 issues and I liked it. The art is nice. The story is pretty good. I like it so far. It definitely keeps me intrigued. I'm sure I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but but still, I'm not going to go into the detail of the story. But the one thing about modern books that I dislike, and has nothing to do with the DC 52 Batman I'm reading, is the color. Maybe I am in the minority. I would love to hear what other people had to say about it, but the way the technology has advanced, to me, coloring has been almost too much. The old ways where it's more cumbersome to color comic books, to produce comic books with colors, and it's expensive to do so. The combination of all of those things makes, the white panels, and you see a lot of white used in many comic books all the way up to the 90s. But since 2000 something, the process change. I find that, you know, when you flip through books now, right, it's fully color. Even the outer edge is very little white, because I think, you know, I have to guess that well, no doubt the cost of producing colorful pages had come down significantly in both the cost as well as the process. It's much easier to do that now compared to the old ways where you have different color plates. And I wish I can find videos of how I used to have there used to be a bunch of videos online that show how a comic book were produced. They were pretty cool video because they show you the complicated process of all the plates, on how the page had to go through different color in order to add the color to create certain colors, you know, because, you know, you can't have like multi colors putting on the page at the same time. So it was a very interesting process on how books were produced back in the 60s, well, prior to the 90s. Okay, I'm not sure what happened since the 90s. For sure, the last 5-10 years, technology, laser printing, all that stuff has made some color printing and comic book production very different from how it was back prior to the new age that we have today. So back to the color of new comics. As much as I enjoy the art, Caesar, I wished the coloring wasn't so, I'm trying to find the right word for it. For me, it's almost too much colors. If there is such a crazy thing as saying for comic books, there are just too much colors. Okay, so, but that's just my take. As I mentioned, if you want to participate in today's chat, shoot me a message and I will invite you. If not, I will ramble on until I run out of things to say. But that's it, really. Okay. As far as me buying anything new this week, not this week, but the last couple of weeks. For those that watched my video a few months back, I think maybe 6 months, I bought this wonderful How to Draw the Marvel Way, the first edition. The first edition is the only one with the hard covers, okay? And I bought this, I think, including with shipping, was like $10, which I thought was an awesome deal, right? Except for the little tear right here. The rest of the book is real good shape. So I was pretty excited, but guess what? Guess what came in the mail recently? An even nicer copy. Look at this one. No tears. No tears. This is like even nicer page quality and everything. Look at, and even cheaper. Look at that wonderful. One of these days, what I might do, which I have done this in the past, is photocopy. Take a scan of all the penciling that are in this book, and add my own inking to them. Okay, I think that would be pretty neat to see how I transform John Buscema penciling with my inking skill. I'm horrible. I try to ink. I never get the hang of it. So it'll be fun to show you the result one of these days on my attempt to ink. I think that would be a pretty fun thing to do. I have done that in the past where I took I scanned raw penciling of John Byrne, and then I print it out, and then I ink over it, and I compare my result with Terry Austin. Ooh, not pretty. But anyhow, one of my favorite buy recently is this awesome book. So that being said, I guess this book will go up. I will put this in the prize package. I think the next time I have a contest, when I reach 1,000 subscriber, I think I will include this in the prize package. I think most people would enjoy looking through this wonderful book. If you have not, I think it's an awesome book to have. It's a must-have if you are a comic book fan, in my opinion. Let's see. Let me check my email to see if anybody contacted me. If not, I will keep on rambling on my own. Let me see. Nobody. What else? One of the thing that I love to do, besides comic book, is, I say, maybe 25% of the thing that I enjoy watching on YouTube. I definitely enjoy cooking, eating, traveling, and so I've been wanting to do a cooking channel for a long time. I love to cook. I love to experiment with many recipes. So I started a cooking channel. I'm not sure how active I will be, but for those that want to see some cooking videos, some recipe videos, definitely I put a link in this chat below. I call my channel, my cooking channel, The Minimalist Cook. Okay, I'm a firm believer that often when people cook, they can overdo it with ingredients, trying to throw in like 50 things or 20 things or 15 different spices. I might not have the most sophisticated palate to taste every single nuances of the spices but I have a pretty good idea of what tastes good and what's not. And so the main focus to my cooking channel would be, as the title said, The Minimalist Cook. Is I would try to introduce and show recipes that I cook at home that are simple and good. Okay, and by that I mean, for me, it's simple and good, but also kids friendly. Okay, because if you have a picky eater like I have an 8-year-old son, and he's fairly picky. Is almost 8-year-old, right? I just can't add a lot of spicy or ingredients in there that he won't like. So many of the recipes that I will be showing and food that I'll be cooking would involve me taking out a lot of ingredients that I know my son would not like. So, but ultimately at the end, it is recipe that will be good tasting. So the channel is The Minimalist Cook. Okay, and hopefully I will have I cook every week, at least once or twice a week. So hopefully I can put in at least one video per week. Not every recipe will be worth the hassle, because unlike comic video, sometimes I just don't have the right setup. For me to just shoot that video that I just loaded a couple of days ago was really difficult in trying to do it. I mean, if in the perfect world, I would have someone videotape me doing the cooking and talking instead of like take a video with one hand showing the ingredient and then had to turn it off, put it down, and then do the cooking and then continues. It was a lot more cumbersome than I imagined as far as trying to shoot a cooking video by myself. Okay, so if you enjoy cooking and curious about my recipes, for sure a lot of my recipes will have a Vietnamese twist to it. Not everything I cook, hopefully in the channel, will be Vietnamese recipe, but for those that enjoy Vietnamese food, for sure you will see a lot of simple Vietnamese dish that I enjoy cooking for my family all the time. Let's see. The other thing that was neat this week was, let's see, Dr. Von Schiller. Dr. Von Schiller did a video where he showed off a bunch of reprints, which was pretty cool. And then he showed off I look like I got a message here from Mike Smith. What is your favorite Doctor Doom story? I love Triumph and Torment, personally, the one with Doctor Strange. Mike Smith, if you're watching, I agree. I like that story a lot. Is it my favorite Doctor Doom? Ooh, I might have to think about that. Okay, let me think about that and maybe do a video on its own. But it's my favorite. Sentimentally, my favorite Doctor Doom story is, of course, Iron Man 150, Iron Man 149, 150, because I bought that issue. That's my very first buy. So sentimentally, that's my favorite Doctor Doom story. But as far as good story, interesting story, good arts, I had to say Triumph and Torment with Doctor Strange is up there, if not my favorite also, because I think Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom are a very good fit as far as adversaries. And I'm just surprised that over the many decades of the characters, they seldom meet, you know, so it's one of those Marvel oddities that I wish Marvel would fix, but at least we had one good story out of that. Back to the Dr. Von Schiller and the reprint. So Dr. Von Schiller showed off a bunch of reprints from DC to Marvel, which is pretty cool. I loved reprints. I wish I buy them myself, but I recognize one of the book. Well, I saw a Batman one in his video, and I thought, oh, that looked beautiful. And he mentioned, and I asked him, where did you get the copy? And he replied, it's from the Masterpiece box set. And I'm like, oh, I have that box set. This is what happened when you have a lot of stuff, and often the stuff get lost in the closet for years. So for those that did watch Dr. Von Schiller video where he showed off, all the fancy Millennium reprints of all the keys books from both Marvel and DC, he showed the Batman one and the box set. And for those that have no idea what he's talking about, let me show you, okay? The Batman Masterpiece Edition. This is it, okay? This is the box set that he was talking about. It's big. It's almost too big. I think I remember when I bought it, I was just like, as much as I love this, right? I thought this box was awesome and everything. I'm like, the content was kind of disappointing. For something this big, I would, it's almost like I wish they, for those that has seen the DC, the big DC book where they talk about the history of DC for the past 75 years, that big book. I mean, this massive box, I would expect something a lot more. Well, I know what's inside when I bought it, but still, to me, after I had this box in hand and see how big this box is, I'm just like, man, could they make it a little bit smaller? But it's Velcro, okay. So It's kind of cumbersome too. So inside you have the Batman reprint, and then you have another book, which is pretty interesting. I might show the book later. I took it out and read it in my bedroom last night. So the book is in, but perhaps the best thing in there also is this thing. Had anybody ever seen this before? I think John, Dr. Van Schiller, mentioned that he had a couple. He bought a couple. I didn't know people was selling these separately on eBay. I think that's what he meant. But if they did, to me, it's kind of odd when you want to sell the whole box set, including everything, instead of just selling just action figures. I have never taken this out of the container, as you can see. It looked pretty cool. It has that classic looking Batman. Mego, how do you pronounce that? Mego? But yes, to me, this was the best thing of the box. And up until this week, all the content was in a big box that I show you. And you know, for whatever reason, I forgot about this thing that I bought years ago. That box set came out in 2000. I think they put out. Personally, I have never seen the Superman set. Okay, I have heard about it. John talked about it. I have never seen a Superman set, the box set. So if anyone that have a Superman box set, maybe do a video and show them off, because I want to see what the box set of the Superman thing look like. I want to see the figures. I want to see, if I had to guess, the reprint of Superman 1 is in that box set. If I had to guess, I don't know. But let me, the Batman is over there. Let me get it. So up until this week, a few days ago, the content of the box was never really touched. So I finally took out the book. This is the book that Dr. Van Schiller, John, showed off in his video. It's one of the best reprint. Okay, I'm not sure if I have all the reprints. I can't say if I have all the Batman reprints, but you know, I have the Treasury reprint and a few other versions. But to me, this is the best one, because this one is about as close of a reprint of the cover of the #1 as the rest, if you compare reprints. For those that are familiar with the Batman reprints, for example, the Treasury reprint does not have this red part. Okay, this red building right here, that's excluded from the Treasury reprint. And so you have this one. So finally, I took it out and put it in Mylar after all these years. Okay, but I'll take it out. I bet you this part of this book, I have ruined many copies of this book, because I wonder how many young kids back in the days after they bought, you know, Batman 1, cut this and use it and put it on the wall. Okay, so many issues of Batman 1 were ripped up to use for the pinup of Batman and Robin. It gives me a kick. Okay, it's always get me a big kick to see a reprint where they actually reprint the interior of the first page. I think it's kind of neat. Okay, see that? Even the last page. You figure, when you reprint a book, DC could easily reprint the interior with either blank page or whatever, right? But they actually reprint the ads for the interior covers. I thought that was always a pretty neat thing. Oh, look like I got another message from Mike Smith. Believe it or not, Mike Smith, I may have mentioned this in one of my messages to you, but when I was in college, my best friend in high school and my roommate in college the first 2 years is also named Mike Smith. And his nickname for all those years was Smitty. Smitty, okay? But yes, you had the same name as my best friend in my, I say junior and senior in high school, and my first 2 years. And then we kind of fell out of friendship after we no longer become roommates. He went on to do other things. I did go to his wedding as part of the groom's party. Okay, here's reading the message from Mike Smith. I have the masterpiece for Superman and Batman. I was trying to make a video later today. But every time I try to buy Wonder Woman, it goes for a little too much. Oh, I did not know. I did not know that they make Wonder Woman also. Learning something new from the chat. Awesome. Yes, Mike, if you can make the video with the Superman masterpiece, I love to see it. I just want to see what the heck it looked like. Okay, so thank you. Thank you for doing that. I'm sure other people will get a kick. And for sure, make sure you show off this Superman Migo. And Wonder Woman, wow. See, now I have a reason to check out eBay. I have not go on eBay lately. It's a good thing, Me and eBay is an addiction. I can go on eBay and buy something fairly quickly, but the best way for me to stave off the sickness is to avoid going on eBay. So, but now that you mentioned that there is a Wonder Woman set, it's gonna be tough to resist not looking for that set. The Superman set, when I heard about it, it didn't really excite me to go and check it out and find it. But the Wonder Woman, now that you mention it, I'm pretty sure I will have to look just to see. And from what you say, that it might be expensive. I wonder if the higher price are due to the bubblicious of Wonder Woman. Everything related to Wonder Woman right now is bubblicious. Other than that, there is, let's see, anything new with comic books? Nothing really new. I haven't bought anything in a while, so I'm eyeing a few things for my birthday in November as a treat. So I think I will have a video sometime in November. You will see a video of me showing off my yearly treat. I will buy something nice to treat myself, but between now and Christmas, I also start pulling, I have my annual purge that I plan to do, and I will go through my collections and pull out some books, some slabs, some stuff that's duplicates, things that I no longer need. and hopefully, you know, I will get rid of them. Between now and say the next 5 to 10 years, I will keep on doing that. I will keep selling the duplicate stuff that I have, because there is no need for me to have so many duplicate copies of so many books. That doesn't mean I'm gonna have a fire sale and sell off 5 copies of Fantastic Four 67. Oh no, not at all. Some books are deserve to be hoarded still. So I'm not, selling every duplicates. Many of my all-time favorites, like Fantastic Four 67, Batman 227, Batman 251, things like that, I won't get rid of so quickly. Oh, look like I got a message from Jorge. I will invite Jorge to the chat. We still have half an hour left. Okay, Jorge, I'm doing it right now. I just sent my invitation to Jorge. If you have not subscribed to Jorge, hopefully I will I have put a link to his channel before, but I will see if I can do it again. Jorge have his own channel. He started to make videos, and he make long rant video about the hobby, which I enjoy watching. It's nice. It's nice to. I enjoy listening to long videos of people talking about the hobby. Jorge, hello.
Hey, how's it going, Nick?
Let's see. Can you hear me clearly?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Superb. How are you?
Good. Before we continue, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. I never.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. There's some technical difficulty, but before we go, I just want to ask: am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes.
Okay. I always have to make sure I do that. I forgot to ask that before. I don't want to mispronounce people's names forever. So what's up? What's going on, my man?
Nothing much. Good. I mean, I just woke up a few minutes ago and I looked on my phone, and it said you were having a chat. So I said, "Oh, I got to jump in there."
Yeah. For sure, I will have a chat like this every Sunday. Well,
right.
Unless I'm out of town, and but otherwise, Sunday is a day that I sit down and watch videos and watch the pregame football stuff and do stuff. So yeah.
Now I overheard you earlier in the chat talking about that you wanted to show your inking over John Buscema pencils.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
So I didn't know that. So you inked the Buscema before?
I have done it before. Well, I used to do a lot of it in my old days, Jorge. I was an aspiring comic artist, and I did a lot of I show off this book too. It's one of the book that I had. I bought in my middle school years and high school years, and practice, right? So I was never an inker, but but once I was able to make photocopies of a lot of the penciling, then I start to play around with inking just to see how it is, and that's when I really learned to appreciate inkers, because it's not, in my young teenage minds, I'm just like, inking, you just go over the guy's line and that's done. It's
Right.
But
Right. Right.
if I sit down and start to ink, and I realize, oh my God, this is a lot more than just going over someone's line. Sometimes you have to make it so that the penciling would pop, or it add dimension to it adds weight to the picture.
Right. Right.
And that's when I'm just like, oh my God, I'm like so way out of my league on this. I'm so new to this, and that was my beginning of appreciation of inkers, and that has not changed since then. Since then, I have championed inkers even more than pencil. I appreciate. I love great artists, but I appreciate great inkers a whole lot more because it's a different skill set.
Yeah. 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 It's yeah, that book, by the way, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I remember I got that book. Yeah, also probably when I was really young. I mean, 13 or something, and I think that was actually my first introduction to the John Buscema work.
Yeah.
And I still remember the image. Each chapter would have a pinup, right, of Buscema, and they had like the Submariner was one of my favorite ones. The Submariner image, like, oh my God,
actually,
it's so good. And yeah, go ahead.
Page is this one though. I actually learned a lot from the way he draw the figures. Like, so after up until that point, I draw figures very differently. But after I get this, I saw how he outlined the shape, draw the backbone and the shoulder, the hip. That's how I started to draw that way going forward, and add the dynamic to the figures and all that stuff. And so so what I did over the years for fun, I wish I kept a lot of it for fun, was I would, for example, photocopy this right here, the Nick Fury pencil. Yeah. And then I would ink it, And I did a lot. I did a lot with John Byrne and other. And my God, it's brutal. It's hard. Plus, you have to understand too is when artists do this stuff, they do it twice up, right, or 1.5 or whatever. And so when you ink the smaller picture, it's very difficult. It's not it's not the same. Like trying to ink John Byrne on a regular small piece, it's just so hard because there's so much details in there. It's
you have to be really precise. But that was one of the things I did later on. Was I would go to a website called comicartfans.com, and I would like print they had Gene Colan originals, and I would print those. And I remember like inking Gene Colan. He was like one of the most. Actually, I found that he was the most fun because he's very fluid pencil work. So I would like to my favorite thing. Like I've experimented with those microns and the nibs, but for me, I prefer the brush. I prefer the brush. I use Raphael. Raphael's good, but Winsor Newton is so. I mean, if you get a good one, because the quality is I hear is here and there, and it's expensive, but Winsor Newton is like so. Oh my God, so like hair-like lines, so precise. And although, so I love to ink Gene Colan stuff. I mean, so when I used to do that, that was like my favorite thing. Kirby was actually fun, but I just like Colan better, to ink.
Colan was incredibly difficult. The comic art fan website you mentioned is awesome. Because if you're original art lovers, right? That's the place to go. It's just it has some amazing pieces in there, and Colan, you had to be like a master with the brush, it's like feather like. That's why I think like somebody like Tom Palmer, right? He's good. So good with the brush that I can't do it. Trust me, I tried that, and my God, it looked like a complete mess. And I'm just like, oh my God, thank goodness I don't ink Colan, because I would look worse than John Tartaglia or something. I'd be like, oh, it will be horrendous. But I have horrible brush skills. I have none whatsoever.
Yeah, it takes I mean, it takes a little bit of sensitivity of the hand. Like you have heavy handed, it's you got to really learn to be very very. I mean, it's patience in the beginning, but then I've noticed, like, you know, if I were to ink let's say an entire page, I just feel I can go through that page faster with a brush, because with a nib I just don't like the idea of dipping and scraping, and I have to keep stopping. And with the brush, I just dip it once. I can go until I get that dry brush, and I could use the dry brush for like a little bit where I need it, and then I just dip again and I keep going. So it's faster that way for me anyway. So, but
No, absolutely, it's a skill set. It's just one of those things where some people have it and some people just doesn't get good at it, you know, and you know, and even like, you know, some people's style of using the brush not as fluid. Like Tom Palmer, I'm sure is like a master with the tool that you talk about. But somebody like Klaus Jensen, I think is more. Klaus Jensen, I'm pretty sure uses the similar tools, you know.
Yeah, he uses a Raphael. That's from last time, because actually I knew him a few years back, like when I went to art college. He taught me comics, so so we used to talk, you know, in person. He was the one that showed me original pages, like Garcia Lopez pages, like original pencils, and Romita pages. Like when I met him, he was inking Romita Jr. on Wolverine. So I saw the scale of it, and I was like, and Romita's really loose. He's loose, you know. Those originals are loose. So he would show me the pencils that he got, and then he showed me his inked version, and he tightened up everything. You know, he tightened up everything, looked nice and everything. But but he's
in his later years was very loose. You know, I think that's the same way with many great artists, right? It's like when you see the early work by John Byrne. It's amazing how he basically almost do the job for the inkers, because he shade everything perfectly.
Right.
You know, I mean, the amount of tedious detail that he put into every line, all the shading. Sure, Terry Austin was an awesome inker too, but John Byrne did a lot of make a big difference in the way he pencil. But I think, you know, when you're looking at like Walt Simonson now, his drawing is not super tight at all. It's pretty rough, almost like a rough sketch, almost like the way John Buscema does it on the sketchbook. You know, it's very rough figures, but those masters are so good at inking, just like Simonson is, that he can just rough sketch it, and then when he ink, he put the final line in there.
Right. He already knows where to tighten it up. So
exactly. But you know, but if he was not inking his own work, then you need a master inker in there to tighten it up.
Right.
You know? I mean, and I think that's, you know.
Go ahead.
No, but I think that's why go back to like my video with Don Heck. Don Heck was a proficient artist, right? Where he can lay out the page, he can sketch the figures and where the body, where the action or whatever it is. But when it comes down to it, he was not a fine artist where he can finalize his own work. He cannot finalize he cannot tighten his own pencil.
Yeah.
And I think that's where his work suffer, because he can't tighten his own work, and he just rarely work with inkers that can tighten it for him. And so what you get is an unfinished product. It drove me crazy when I look at his old work. I'm just like, there are so much potential here. And the Palette Marvel at the time just completely missed the boat. They're just like, oh, this is fine. We don't need to assign an inker to you. You can just go ahead and pencil and ink your own stuff. It's great. You know, I'm like, no, it's not.
He's I mean, like I like the video that you made of Heck, because, you know, again, it's like I'd never seen the monster stuff, like the 50s work, which is true. Like I look at that stuff and I prefer that over the superhero work. You know, it's just I love that whole 50s aesthetic, you know. So
he was great at drawing people in suits, you know.
Yes.
You know? And that's one other thing that I think, you know, you obviously you are an artist in training and been doing drawing and inking and all that stuff, so you understand that it's a different beast to draw muscular people or drawing regular people.
Yeah.
It's
it's funny that you bring that up, because it's like, right now I'm drawing like a new pieces, and I'm drawing a Spider-Man, story that I wrote. And so I realized, like, before I was doing it, I've never really, the superhero thing is not what I used to draw. Like, the last pages I did was more realistic. People dress the way they normally look. So this time, when you're doing the superhero genre, it's a different aesthetic. I mean, it's all about really kind of like, I mean, more or less the physical, like the anatomy, showing in a way that is sort of graceful and fits the composition. It's a different thing. It's a totally different thing. So, but that's sort of what I'm doing now. So I had to go and really learn musculature a little bit more, so that, it flows well. But anyway, so,
No,
yeah.
it's hard, I mean, I think that's why when I, if you watch a lot of my videos on the artist spotlight, I am sometimes maybe overly focused on the thing that's like non-muscular stuff, because I gush over the folds of the clothing.
Yeah. I hear that a lot, but it's true. It's beautiful to look at.
Yeah, that's why I love someone like, say, like Gene Colan, right? Because Gene Colan is one, like, when you look like Don Heck. Okay, Don Heck can draw regular people in the suit, the clothes, the hat, the scenery, nice.
Yeah.
Gene Colan can do all of that, plus all the action, all the muscle. And I think that's why when I look at Gene Colan, to me, I just love the way Gene Colan never draw a simple color that's just a color. It has a fold, it has a curl, it has so many little things that I, as a young artist, I'm looking at them like, my God, there's so much detail that this man put into even like the bottom of his pants.
Yeah.
It's like, it's insane on how he draw the cuffing, and it's just like, how. I mean, but that's why, even at my early days of enjoying comic books, I look at those little things. I'm just like, as an aspiring artist, I'm just like, man, I can never be like this. I try. I'm just like, but I respect that kind of skill. That's why, whenever I talk to people that think that I am like a Rob Liefeld hater, I'm just like, listen, Rob Liefeld is decent in some things, but if you want to talk awesomeness or greatness, please understand details. Understand details and composition and scenery and all that stuff, because as you brought up in your videos on rant about comic books, it's easy. It's easy for artists to do head and figures. It's easy for Rob Liefeld to put on a page with three headshots of people screaming.
Right.
It's easy.
Yeah. I think it's a part of, like, I mean, I know for myself, I find the joy in drawing clothing. Like, clothing and hair can be really seductive. Backgrounds you can use to really emphasize space and dimension, which I like. I think people get hung up on, perspective, hands, clothing. Those are like the three, and faces. Those are like the big ones. Like, oh, it's really difficult. But Colin, it's like, every time I look at his work, and to me, his work is dreamlike. It's because he just, like, I look at some of these pages, and sometimes, how proportions will change, or faces are kind of slightly at an angle, or everything is not like totally, like, proportionally correct, and yet it appears almost photographic at times. It's like it has these weird qualities to it, and that's why I always go back. I go, this is a really unique penciler, like, very unique. Obviously, the guy can draw. Like, obviously, like, he can draw whatever, and I could tell. So when I see his pages, and he does like these different panel layouts and stuff. So everything is always like moving. It's always blending and things like that. Very dreamlike. But that's what I get from him.
He is extremely unique. I can't really compare him with anybody. I mean, there's a lot of artists out there that have similar style.
Yeah.
Even though they're different, like If you look at the extreme, well, let's say like Neil Adams and John Byrne, right? They are
Yes.
very different, they're very unique, but they have similar style in that they draw uh, similar kind of muscle and body proportion.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to like Jim Colin, you just really can't. I can't find another artist I say have a similar style. It's just
Yeah.
the great thing that he do with his penciling is just insane.
Yeah.
The shading is just, you know, I mean, I used to try. I tried that, right? I would try to draw and then use my finger to smudge the
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I can't. This is like it's like a master. It's like I said, it's a genius. He's just a genius. But yeah, so I went through my stage of trying to be a comic artist. I submit my work.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I heard somebody say the other day that for you to make it into comics in today in 2015, I mean, you have a better chance of becoming an astronaut. You know, it's so rare and it's so difficult, you know, because everybody wants to get in, and less you know, editors are willing to look at them. I think in New York, like the only place that I know of that you can get your portfolio looked at is Comic-Con that's coming up, you know, in October. That's once a year. And I called the Marvel offices. I called them. I was like, hey, I want to show my portfolio. I'm living like in the 80s or something, you know, like it's not, that doesn't happen. Yeah. And so she said, the woman that picked up the phone, she said, we haven't done that in like 8 years or something, you know? So I was like, so when can I show myself? I said, well, you can show it at Comic-Con. And I'm thinking, that's once a year. That's like some sort of, you need some sort of golden ticket or something, you know,
so you are bringing your portfolio to Comic-Con?
Well, I wanted to show. I did last year, but I went on a day where there were no editors. I went on a Thursday and there was no editors, but I did show my stuff to Walt Simonson and his wife. I showed it to them.
Okay.
And what I like about him is that Walt is very, he's a nice guy, but really honest, but in the best way, not in sort of like a kind of weird or jerk way, but so everything that he said about my pages was precise. That's why I had no problems, because everything he said was exactly on point. You know, wherever there needs to be a correction in terms of storytelling, because he got over like the actual drawing. He's like, yeah, the drawing is good. So, and I like the way he does. He just doesn't even look at the drawing. It's always a storytelling number one. Then everything else can improve, you know. But first storytelling. So,
well, you know,
but I like, yeah. Go ahead.
Best of luck, man. I can't disagree. Well, I agree so much with what Walt would be doing or said to you, because I think it made. I've been saying this for a long time that great comic book artists is like a movie director. Okay, you had to have the visual layout of what you want to tell how you want to tell the story.
Right.
And that's why, you know, like a lot of great directors are actually pretty good artists themselves. You know, if you ever see James Cameron doing drawings, the man can draw.
Yeah,
you know, he does not need to hire anyone to do storyboard. He can do it.
Right. And I'm sure you know about Ridley Scott probably too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have seen sketches from these great directors, and I'm just like, wow, can they draw? They can draw really well. And this is why, you know, whenever I sit there and debate with other people about artists, I'm just like, if you look at like a beautifully drawn story from like Gene Colan or Neil Adams or whoever, and you can visualize almost like a movie in your mind of how things unfold. When you look at something that was done by, say, once again, I'm not trying to pick on Rob Liefeld. Imagine a picture, a movie where all you see is hat and figures.
Right.
Just every scene is a close-up of the face. It would be a very boring movie, you know, if all you see is a neck-up kind of shot all movie long. And I think that's why, you know, it takes a specific skills to be able to visualize the story even before you lay it out, right? It's at least when I was trying to do it, okay, when I was trying to break in as an artist, right, I would trying to come up with like a 5 or 6 page story,
Mhm.
and basically lay out in rough sketches, like, okay, on this page, this is what I want the view to be. But it's tough. I mean, I can tell you, it's a lot easier to draw Heckin figures.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, in the beginning, I used to draw just the images without any words. But as I got into, writing my own story, I decided like I wanted to as well, and now put it in, later on with Photoshop. So I started to letter. So I do lettering myself. So like an interview, Joe Kubert, he was like, he thought that, putting lettering after you drew this entire image was nutty, because there's these giant areas where you didn't even need to spend time drawing. There's going to be covered up anyway. So, where the bubbles are going to be, which saves time when it comes to drawing those panels. Which I was like, yeah, why didn't, why wasn't I was doing it in such an idiotic way, It's like,
True.
So it helps a lot.
It is, like I said,
Yeah.
Learning those little things from the masters is a big difference. I mean, I like I said, I'm amazed at the little things that I learned from watching all the documentaries or interviews with many of these masters, right? Because I wish I saw those things back in the 80s when I was trying to break in, because I'm like, damn, I didn't think about that. Just like the balloon that you talk about, I didn't think about, but I'm not a writer, and I try to write my own stuff, and it's just brutal. It's just it was like a fun fantasy for teenagers.
Yeah.
And but like I said, I still doodle around today, and it's a lot of fun, and I love comics for the arts more than the story. But as I get older, I definitely appreciate storytelling.
Yeah.
And they take two. It's a format where to me, I can't have one or the other. I have a hard time looking at beautiful arts that doesn't make any sense. When I read a story that poorly laid out, poorly diagrammed as far as the layout, I have a hard time enjoying the art. And I want to pick on one person that I think have annoyed me for a long time, Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Jim Lee, to me, one of the problems I had with Jim Lee in the 90s was I felt that his drawing was fantastic. But when I read those X-Men book, I'm just like, man, your storytelling sucks.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. I mean, I was the first to like say, enough with this pretty stuff. I want story panel to make sense.
Right.
And I find that with Jim Lee, when I was reading his book, I had to reread. I had to like flip the page back again sometime, not because I want to admire the art, more like what the hell happened. The flow. So yeah, that was my. I think my one knock on Jim Lee is I think he's a great artist, but when it comes down to storytelling, I just didn't like the way he laid out the panels ever since the 90s. It's a, but that's my thing. I'm sure other Jim Lee fans would give me a big thumbs down. You're wrong. He's awesome.
It's funny. It's like Jim Lee stuff. I've never really, in terms of thinking of artists that I find right away, I always like Jim Lee. I appreciate the stuff. Obviously I've seen his stuff everywhere. I remember when he went to Marvel, he did like these Heroes Reborn. I think he was like drawing Fantastic Four or something. But I think he's. I mean, to me, he kind of feels like a kind of a Neil Adams, but a different kind, or trying to have this sort of Neil Adams but bigger. Or I mean, there's an Italian artist who I can tell you who does superhero stuff. I think his name is Claudio Castellini, I think. And if you know if you ever seen his work, it's basically John Buscema on steroids. Like it's like John Buscema cheekbones, but it's like to the double the power. Like it's it's just ridiculous, but it's so cool though. It's so cool. So, but Jim Lee stuff, no, I never found his compositions. His storytelling is, standard to me. Nothing, amazing. Standard. It works. At least when I used to buy the Batman Hush stuff. But again, like I look at some of his pencils, and it's like, to me, because I'm thinking of economy, and I'm thinking of like, okay, how can we make the most beautiful drawing with the shortest amount of time, so that we can focus on storytelling, and we have momentum, and we make a deadline. Because I'm not fast by any means, but every time I draw, I try to think, how can I do this faster but still keep the quality, maintain the quality. So I'll look at his like Superman pencils, and it's like I see like hundreds of X's everywhere, and I'm like, Jim, you could have, all that time that you took to put those little X's, you could have just like avoided it, or you find a way to lessen it, because I do think he does overkill sometimes. It's overkill.
Yeah. Anyway. I mean, it's interesting to saw his sketch because there's a lot of videos on YouTube on Jim Lee's sketching, and no doubt he's a great artist. Okay, but I do agree that he draw sometimes way too many lines to get the message across on something. I'm like that one line was enough. It's perfect the way it is. I think he suffered from what many artists are, with this perfectionist. You're trying to draw the perfect lines, and to me, it's just like sometimes you just gotta let go. Trust your instinct that one line is good enough. But yeah, I mean, it's I love art, so I will always love the hobby because of that. And I just look at the clock; it's already 12:02. Time flew by. Yeah, I mean, of course, feel free. Next time I have a chat next Sunday, if nobody is chatting and nobody joined me, feel free to shoot me an email like you did today, and I would jump in. And I definitely have not heard of that Italian artist that you mentioned.
Yeah, his name is Claudio Castellini, and you check him out. I mean, he's like, again, you could see a lot of the Buscema, a little bit Neil Adams, but much bigger, broader. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. But before I go, I have one question here from somebody. Mike Smith, if you're still around, you ask one more question. What will be a bigger movie from Fox in 2016, Deadpool or X-Men Apocalypse? Woo, boy. I'm not sure what. I don't know. I would have to say X-Men. If I had to pick, like, what movie will bring in the most revenue, I would dare to say X-Men over Deadpool, just because that X-Men is an established franchise with many people already seen many movies. Outside of the comic book Doom, how many people know about Deadpool?
Right.
So if I had to guess, if Deadpool is an awesome movie, word of mouth will help it make a lot of money later. It's one of the movies that might gain momentum over the first week or two, but it needs to be an awesome movie to carry that. If the movie came out and it sucks, okay, I'm not saying it will suck. I don't know, but if that movie, if Deadpool to do better than the X-Men, it better not suck, because the word of mouth must be good.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know about. I never liked the Deadpool character, but there's so many people like him. I don't know why, but yeah, I agree. I think X-Men for sure. It's established. We know what we're gonna get. So yeah, it'll do much more.
Yeah, I'm not a Deadpool fan either. In fact, I like Dr. Von Schiller, John. When Hulk 181 came out, he's just like blah on Hulk 181. The same thing with me. When New Mutant 98 came out, I'm like blah. This goofy looking character with the crazy drawing from Liefeld, whatever. So
yeah.
I don't get it. But sure, he's popular with the current collectors and speculators market. what would the average person think? Depend on how good the movie is. If the movie suck and the word of mouth is stinky, then he won't beat the X-Men. So
Right.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
The one thing before I go real quick, the one thing about Deadpool that I don't get, and I know a lot of people love, is this whole fourth wall thing. The
Right.
fourth wall thing. I'm like, it's cute, it's funny, maybe once,
Right.
But do I need to see him do that like every 5 minutes in the movie? I pray
Right.
not. I pray not.
It kills. Yeah, it's overkill. It's like, and that's what that character does. But at the same time, I mean, is he? To me, he's what he's supposed to be. I don't know what he's supposed to be, because to me, he's neither funny. He's not an engaging character. There's no sort of drama there about him. I mean, he's not compelling. He kind of just kills people and has fun and is kind of a nut, but in an uninteresting way. So it's like, that's a character that when you bring it to live action, to me, that's a very, very tough sell and actually risky. I mean, how is that going to do to a worldwide audience? How is that going to do in Asia? I mean, it's just, I don't understand it.
Well, I think in Asia it will do well because
Okay.
I agree with you. Like, for my artistic taste, the character, his personality does not appeal to me whatsoever. That's one of the reasons why I was never a Deadpool fan. But the characters I love reflect the way I like how Wolverine personality is, or Silver Surfer or whatever. But when it comes to Deadpool, his sarcastic personality just does not jive with my own way.
Yeah.
But Asia will do well, and this is a very controversial belief, is that foreign market doesn't really care about storytelling.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
And I think Hollywood more and more has target that audience compared to the domestic market, because just look at Transformer, right? Horrendous movie.
Right.
And yet it's doing $1 billion something, because almost like 800 million came from overseas. They just want to see explosion, more explosion, more. Give us more explosion. We don't care about acting. We don't care about storytelling. We want more explosion.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, very, very. I guess it's right. They love special effects.
Yeah, they love it. You look at even movie that deserve to do well. For example, one of my favorite movie last year that did not do well was Pacific Rim.
Mm-hmm.
It did very badly in the US, okay, with but then in China, it did crazy business in China, because they did all the robots and the action, even though good movie, good acting, everything, but the US domestic market is just like, we're not gonna deal with robots fighting monster, blah, that's just garbage. We don't want to go see that. But that's why I think movies that are just like popcorn, turn off your brain, give us a lot of blood, killing, show some TV, you're all set. It's sad, but that's how the movie business has transformed into. It's just like,
or it could be a simple case of like in Asia, I guess that a lot of the stories from the West might get lost in translation. So they prefer more visual kind of thing. So I don't know how like Max did over there. So, but I think that's one of the reasons.
Almost every action movies do more, if not double, the revenue overseas. Almost every single one, even Ghost Rider, even the horrible movie Ghost Rider. Okay? That's and many of that is because this exact thing that you talk about. If you are a 14-year-old Chinese kid that does not speak English, do you give a damn about the dialogue? You just go there to see the action, right? And so that the market is what the market is. I mean, it's just one of those things where I understand why Hollywood did what it's doing, and people complain, oh, they putting out garbage. I'm like, they are trying to make money. That, but hey, if that produce revenue overseas, they will keep making the same garbage.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
As long as it bring in the dough, they're not gonna stop making Transformer 17.
Yeah. Right. Right.
My
So
goodness, you know, Transformer 1 was bad enough. We had to see Transformer 5.
I couldn't even watch that first one, and I couldn't even watch it. And I remember talking to somebody about that. He was offended because I said, that's a movie about toys. It's based on toys, and he was like, no, this is a great movie. I was like, no, I don't think so. I think it's terrible. So yeah, it was offended by that.
Yeah, I have seen all of them just for the sake of movie review, and they are just horrendous. Horrendous. Okay, I had to say that. I sat through the last one. And I'm just like, who wrote these dialogues?
Yeah, you deserve a medal for that, because I mean you're tough, man. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't. I gotta I walk away. I don't give any movie once I feel it's insulting me. It's insulting my intelligence. I can't.
Well, Jorge, it's 12:10. I gotta run. It's time for football.
Okay.
Great always, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do that again next week. All right.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right.
Goodbye, folks. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your football Sunday.